Wuthering Waves is terrible. Wuthering Waves is the worst game I've played all year. Wuthering Waves has nothing on Genshin Impact. Wuthering Waves could never. Genshin would never have these problems. YouTube, welcome in to a video where we're going to talk about my personal thoughts and feelings on Wuthering Waves. As a day one player, I've heard everything under the sun about how other people feel about the game. Those at the start were just some. But I've heard people left and right saying it's the best thing they've ever played, and then I've heard people say it's the worst thing they've ever played. As I've played since day one and I'm now UL 40 with tons and tons of hours into the game, I want to go over everything about it. Now, let me just start off by saying this game is not a Genshin killer. Nothing will ever be a Genshin killer in my opinion, other than Genshin itself, but they seem to be doing a really good job of optimizing the game at this point. Or at the very least, they're doing a very good job of optimizing Genshin for what it's designed to be. It's very weird, but anyway, this video is about Wuthering Waves. This game's a ton of fun, dude. It really, really is. I've had a ton of fun from start to finish with this, and my first impressions of the game weren't actually the best. From starting off, the story was pretty bearable in terms of voice acting. The first like 2 acts of the game, I see it as you kind of just have to get through that to get to the good stuff. Not that the first 2 acts are bad, it's just that the voice direction isn't quite there for the ENW yet. Kuro have already come out and addressed this and said they're going to improve it in the future, maybe rewrite some of the other stuff, but not too sure on that. But honestly, the rest of the story just makes up for it. I don't care about it. I really, really don't. You can just play in another language as well. It's not that big of a deal to me personally. Act 3 onwards were absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. As soon as you meet Scar, the story ramps up massively. He's an awesome character, one of the coolest characters in Gacha games in my opinion, and the voice acting does improve as you go on. But enough about the voice acting, let's talk about the actual story. Hold up, before we get too far into the video, let me quickly tell you about Echocalypse. In this game, you lead the last hope of humanity, Kimono Girl cases, onto different adventures. Through an immersive story with lots of different convenient and relaxing play modes, you can gather hundreds of Kimono Girls from the hands of famous artists, each with unique character and a beautiful, detailed, sexy avatar. Smart strategies and tactics are crucial in order to win, and you can build your dream base. What's not to love? Use the link down below in the description to download Echocalypse today. Just do it! And you'll also find a link to all the socials, so make sure to drop those a follow. You kind of get hit with a lot of different words, and unfamiliar words at that take a while to understand. I actually had to take some time out of the game because it's not explained very well in-game, to dive into the lore and see what each word means. You got tacit fields, tacit discords, resonance, the lament, the etheric sea, wave-worn phenomenon, Threnodian, tacitite. There's a ton. There's a lot of different words that get thrown at you, and you have to figure out what it means as you go along. And I'll be completely honest, that's like the only downside for me. The cutscenes are absolutely stunning. They're amazing. The fact that the characters have such expression and animation outside of actual cutscenes when you're just talking to them in dialogue is one of the biggest turn-ons for a Gacha game story for me. You'll just be talking to a character in dialogue and they'll be walking around you and smirking and looking at you, not just with a dead stare. I'm going to move on to a bit of spoiler territory here, but Act 6 of Wuthering Waves was peak cinema in my opinion. The fact that you're fighting a war and it actually feels like you're fighting a war. The NPCs are out in number, fighting enemies out in number. You can choose to help, you can choose to go past. The fact that there's playable characters having their Avengers-like moment, all fighting the war with you. The fact that you get to actually decide some things, and although it's illusion of choice, it's illusion of choice done well. Because if you pick an option that doesn't work, it's not like it's just like, oh yeah, let's go with that, and it's the same outcome. You actually get shut down and it tells you it's a bad idea. I really recommend playing it for yourself, seeing if you enjoy the story, but the story is not the only part about Wuthering Waves that makes it a fantastic game in my opinion. The exploration is one of the best explorative worlds I've ever experienced. You can run, you can jump, you can swim, that's the basics. You can also climb, you can also run up walls, you can grapple, you can use echoes to get around, you can glide, you can fall, you can do all this cool acrobatic maneuver with like jump canceling and stuff. It feels really fluid and it feels really, really good. Now, there is a couple of bugs here and there with the game in general, and there was a lot of issues on release. I'm not blind to that. I personally had like one problem though, so I can only speak on my own experience. I'm very aware that there's bugs and a lot of people had a ton of problems with that. However, this isn't a AAA game studio, realistically. As far as I'm aware, at least. I was told Kuro's like a AA game studio. I don't really know what the terminology means. It's like Michelin stars, dude. 1, 2, 3, they're all great. Indie games are great and AAA games are great. I don't know. But I feel like every game nowadays launches with some problems problems, and honestly, the amount of problems that I had were next to none. I'm not saying that means the game's perfect, it's definitely not, and it's got a long way to go. Now, the combat in Wuthering Waves is next level. The combat's absolutely amazing. You can dodge, you can get perfect time dodges to do cool counter attacks. You can parry enemies when this little orange circle closes in with perfect timed attacks to counter it. Use echoes to do it too, or echoes just to enhance the fights. You get 3 characters on your team, which honestly I wasn't a fan of at first because I was so used to 4 characters with Genshin, being able to do like elemental reactions and stuff and switch between more characters. But with Wuthering Waves, it just works. I think it's also really nice to not have to build 4 characters as like a guarantee. For one team, only having to build 3 characters means you can progress a little bit quicker, in my opinion. But while we're talking about building characters, let's quickly talk about the material aspect of the game, because goddamn, materials are really difficult to farm in Wuthering Waves, whether it's echoes, which are like the artifact equivalent. Even though echoes are unlimited, you can farm them endlessly all day, every day if you wanted to. The materials to upgrade them definitely aren't. And they take a lot of goddamn resources. But if you focus too much on echoes, then you're not going to have enough resources to level your character, because they need boss mats, which cost 60 wave plates. You get 240 wave plates a day. They basically need a full day's worth of wave plates just to level them using boss mats. And then you need the credits, which I run out of all the time. You also need weapon upgrade mats, and then talent upgrade mats, and echo upgrade mats. It's just, it's a lot, dude. It's a lot. But they're also addressing that. And we're also not at the end game yet. We're at like UL 40 maximum right now. Pretty sure it goes up to like UL 80 or 90 or something. Character level 90 at the very least, because that's what it is when you do the trials with the characters. So there's a long way to go before we're getting the maximum amount of rewards, which is also really important to remember, and I'm really guilty of not remembering that myself sometimes. So as much as I have my gripes with the amount of materials we're getting at the mid-union level, I do think it'll probably end up equating to something a lot more further down the line. And hey, at least everything's pretty fun to farm, dude. The combat being so good and reactive makes even the most mundane tasks like going around and echo farming pretty damn fun. Usually with games that I play on stream, I play them on stream, and then when I log off, I want to go and do something else, because that's like stream time, video time, work time. Dude, Wuthering Waves I've been playing every day for like 2 hours after stream, just chilling. All right, future Bran here. As you can see, I'm pretty comfy. I wanted to go over a couple of extra things now that I hit UL 45. Honestly, after hitting UL 40 in general, things got a lot better for me. But let's talk about the endgame. Endgame content's really fun in Wuthering Waves. There's a lot of different types. Tower of Adversity is basically like the Spiral Abyss version of this game. You get a few different floors where you have to use different teams to clear everything in a certain amount of time. And a lot of people love this and a lot of people hate it. I'm on the latter side. I usually don't like it too much, but it's not the worst thing ever in this game. I don't know why. It just feels a little bit better. It's still not my favorite form of endgame, but if you like the Spiral Abyss in Genshin, then it's definitely worth giving a try at the very least. But now, if you wanted something that feels more like endgame in terms of just straight up being able to fight something super difficult, the hologram bosses are really good, and that's where you're going to get the challenge. They start off pretty simple and they get higher level, but it's not the levels that are the big issue or the big problem with these bosses that make them difficult. It's the different movesets and abilities that get added later down the line. These bosses can one-shot you with almost every single ability that they have, and they have a really cool feature where I think on level 80 of the boss, they get an extra ability. For example, with the Tempest Mephis, it gets a clone that comes out, which makes the fight 10 times harder, or at least twice as hard. The monkey as well, at level 80 or 90, it gets these clones that come out, the little monkeys that do attacks and throw you off guard. It's pretty great, it's very interesting, and it keeps things fresh. I love how difficult it gets, but when you want some endgame that's not super difficult and kind of just fun to go through, you've also got the Depth of Elusive Realm, which is like a roguelike kind of, you go through, you get buffs, you get power-ups, you get cool things that change the way your character functions, and you just got to build up the strongest character you can and then unleash on the end. It's great. It's a lot of fun. You get some super cool rewards, shiny skins for the echoes, you get XP. There's a lot of stuff that you can get. Definitely worth giving a try, and it's also very free-to-play friendly, especially the Depth of Elusive Realm, because you get a ton of trial characters. So let's talk about the wishing pity systems real quick, because if you're used to playing only Genshin or HSR, where you've got a standard banner with a hard pity of 90 and then a weapon banner with a 50-50 or worst case scenario, a 33-33-33 or 2 fate points. This game's gonna blow your mind because the limited banner for the characters has 80 max pity, and there is a 50-50 of course, but the weapon banner is guaranteed 80 pity. There's no 50-50, there's no nothing. You cannot lose on the weapon banner. It's the least scammiest banner in any gacha game I've ever played or seen. It's fantastic, incredibly free to play friendly, and you get a ton of free characters and a ton of free wishes, especially if you start now. I still recommend starting the game ASAP because you you get all of the apology currencies and everything like that. But yeah, honestly, now that I'm UL 45, I got the free weapons, I've got a ton of characters built up now. My Havoc Rover's absolutely cracked. He's the one that I'm using in most of the endgame content, actually, the main character. So again, very free-to-play friendly, very resource friendly to level up the MC as well. And yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think about Wuthering Waves, how you've been enjoying it, what union level are you at, who's your favorite character. Subscribe to the channel if you want more Wuthering Waves videos, and thanks for listening to a rant for God knows how long just about how good the game is. It's got its issues, but hopefully they'll be fixed eventually, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.